I'm going to show you the most infamous thing about Jongbou first. That is a lot of load time before we get to the game. Jongbou was initially an arcade game by SNK, and you might recall that K Amusement is an arcade machine distributor that had a relationship with them. So they seemed to publish SNK's Overflow. The port itself was developed by Micronix, which will not come as a surprise. That long load time really resembles what they did in Athena, so I wonder if SNK was planning for this to be a Famicom Disk System game, and at the last moment switched it over to a cart. Unlike with Athena, though, I couldn't find any advertisements for Jongbou that said it was going to be an FDS game. Jongbou is a strange mashup. It's an Arkanoid clone mixed with a mahjong game. Mahjong winds up being a very popular subject for Famicom games, and there's actually quite a few that mix the tabletop game with some other genre. In Jongbou, you can clear a stage by wiping out all of the tiles, but that's the hard way to do it. Or maybe I should say, harder way to do it. The intended way to complete a stage is to complete a mahjong hand. These hands follow the structure of Riichi mahjong. That's the version of mahjong that's popular in Japan. In that version, it's not simply enough to collect sets and runs. You have to fulfill certain extra hand requirements, and the more difficult those are, the more points they're worth. If you don't know anything about Riichi mahjong, the most basic ones to help you play Jongbou are 4 sets of 3 and 1 extra pair, 4 runs of 3 and 1 extra pair, or 7 pairs. Collecting 7 pairs is actually pretty difficult to do in the real mahjong, but the way Jongbou works, it's one of the simpler options. As you bounce the ball around, when you hit an upside down tile, you flip it to reveal it. Hitting it again dislodges it, and if you collect that falling tile with your paddle, the game freezes while you decide which tile to discard. And here's where we get into the major problem with Jongbou. Collecting tiles is terrible. Half of that is due to the controls. You can press a button to speed up the paddle movement, but if the dead center of the tile doesn't hit the dead center of the paddle, you're going to miss it. And because those tiles are so limited, and your requirements are so specific, missing a tile could mean your stage is ruined. That also means that you might have to prioritize collecting a tile over deflecting the ball. And that's a bad place to be in with an Arkanoid clone. The other issue is that the tiles drop at almost the exact same rate as the ball. They are very slightly faster when the ball is moving at a low speed, but most of the time if a ball dislodges a tile as it's moving down, you're going to have to choose between the tile or the ball. The result of all this is that Jongbou feels intensely unfair. Now that's an unfairness that's built out of the randomness of the game, but it doesn't justify it. There are a few pickups that can help you. They're usually hidden in the point tiles that you also have to destroy. The blue crystal puts up a force field that slows the ball down and makes it drop straight down when it passes through it. This is by far the most useful pickup. In fact, I'd say it's almost required to have it in order to complete a stage. Getting the red crystal teleports the ball back to your paddle, and when you fire it off, it goes straight up and through everything. It sends all the mahjong tiles down too. I actually found this one to be pretty difficult to use effectively. Collecting this tile will make all of the mahjong tiles flip, and the up tile is an extra life. Collecting this tile adds barriers to the edges of the screen. They'll help keep the ball in play longer. You can only have one of these power-ups at a time, so collecting another one disables the previous one. You'll also see number 5 tiles that are colored red. Those are extra points if you complete your mahjong hand. There's 32 stages in Jongbou, and they just loop forever. Not that I would know, of course. I think the furthest I got was the 3rd stage. Complete a big hand and you'll warp ahead multiple stages. And if you finish a stage by completing a mahjong hand, you go to this bonus stage. It's an opportunity to earn some extra lives. Maybe the worst aspect of Jongbou is how the ball behaves. it has a tendency to accelerate very quickly, and the acceleration is greater the fewer number of tiles that are on the screen. So if you lose the ball when there's only a few tiles left, it'll launch again at a slow speed, bounce once, and accelerate to high speed. Jongbou is two games mashed together, and it does neither of them well. The controls for the block breaking and how the ball behaves makes it tough to play. And trying to build a mahjong hand when you also have to play another game results in bad mahjong play. Jongbou is only remembered in Japan for being a weird bad game, and it's definitely earned that reputation.